Hi everyone, welcome to the second episode of the Stragedy podcast, where we talk about tragedies and strategies of product management, requirements management, all that fun stuff. Today with me I have Gordon Cindric. He is the lead product designer and also founder of McKnight Media, a creative agency. How are you, man?
Great, thanks a lot for having me, and it's an honor to be the second guest. First time on a podcast, so this will go down in the history books, at least for me. So thanks for inviting me.
Thanks for coming. Usually we start with sort of like an origin story introduction, so like if you can
Sure.
tell us about
I grew up in a small city, about 35,000 people in the eastern part of Croatia, called Vinkovci, and spent most of my life there before university. My elementary school and then primary school was economy and trade. So this was my kind of the first specific education, let's say it like that. So writing business communication and a lot of useful skills that I later found out was really helped me in later on in entrepreneurship and life.
really already in the
writing a contract. Writing like a work contract or like a business offer or a quote or something like that. It was boring back then when you're a kid, but later on, I was explaining these things to people who went to like grammar schools and didn't have this knowledge, so it was really weird. But so after that, university in another city called Varaždin, and this was focused on multimedia, so all kinds of media, whether it was designing websites or doing audio or video montage or doing animation. So this was everything that I wanted to do when I was a kid.
So it was your like pick. You were a creative kid already, and
exactly. Yeah, I didn't even know that you could study multimedia in Croatia, and it was a real revelation for me that in Varaždin there was this. It was called Polytechnic of Varaždin back then. You had this. It was called multimedia application and design. So it was like a very hands-on thing. Every subject had like a project that you had to deliver at the end, and it was some of them were team projects, some of them was solo projects, and it was really hands-on. And this was, since I was already doing a lot of this stuff, it was very easy to have good grades, and because I was already doing freelance projects, in doing websites for local car repair shops or a lot of different stuff back in the day when you were doing websites in front page, Microsoft front page, or slicing them up in Illustrator or Fireworks and also Macromedia Flash.
So did you start this freelancing when you were already in college or even before?
Even before. It was, it was very. I had this great opportunity to have a computer very early, because my father saw this and saw some potential in this, and he got like a Pentium or whatever was in that day, and it started, let's do whatever you can do, And then when you realize, okay, this is becoming popular, I can sell this skill to somebody, and then you as a kid, when you earn some money, that you don't have to ask for from your parents, then you're wow, I'm atop of the world, quit school, I got it all figured out. For like a few hundred somethings that you spend in 2 days.
To me, that was exactly like a moment in life when I discovered that something that I know how to do has a value for someone else, and they're willing to pay me for it. So let's say when I realized this, it kickstarted my freelancing career, which kind of led to me being here in the end, over the years. So that was amazing realization. But not all, like if you were studying economy, I don't think you would have felt this spark, at such early moment. I think this design, software development, those types of categories are where people can get this spark early on. That's how I felt.
Yeah, it's very concrete. You build something, you take. I mean, of course, I was not doing front end, back end development. It was Joomla, CMS. Manipulating absolutely whatever you can. With the plugins, with all the playing, importing, exporting, PHP, MyAdmin, SQL databases, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, but still,
back in the day, you were like a super, hacker, doing these things compared to people that had no idea how do you make a website which you can actually update through an admin panel. Yeah. This was, today it's trivial.
Exactly.
But yeah, I did Joomla 0.1, very rudimentary. I built, I think, over 10 websites very early on. And then in college, I was in a dorm, and I was very motivated to earn even more, to earn money, because the expenses of it grew, and my parents were, had this in and out of jobs situation. Mom had a job, dad didn't, and vice versa, and it was very turbulent. I wanted to make it easier for them. I wanted to also to buy myself a good machine, computer that you can also game on, of course, in a dorm, high-speed internet, all that good stuff. And I was very motivated, and I was doing this multimedia design. I was studying multimedia design. Everything made sense, and it had a perfect fit. The downside of it is that I had to miss a lot of get-togethers, a lot of birthdays. Well, I tried to not to miss birthdays, but it was university, it was college, and people were having fun. I mean, I was having fun. It was fun for me, but not maybe the standard template of fun, at college and in a dorm.
I can relate 100% with you. I also
was
like
the super serious guy working, making money. What the hell, you're supposed to. It's university. You need to be drunk every weekend or whatever.
But fast forward 10 years, 15 years, whatever. You now have a company. I also have a company, and we are still working a lot more than other people. So some things never change, but I hope it will be worth it, like in the end.
Yeah, I mean this is I don't know at which point people want to often reverse engineer somebody's path. What do I need to do? What do I need to teach my kid? What at one point do I do a recipe? Let's make a recipe for something that somebody thinks is success. And I really can't put it. I had some crucial lessons in my life that were not necessarily structured lessons in school. For example, I had one student job that was like a regular student center job on a board. You read some opportunities there. You went to apply. You saw the hourly rate, and it was like a local, like a physical labor, basically for a local kind of retail store that had a super like a blowout sale in a gym, like a huge gym hall for a school.
Yeah.
And they needed help for people to unload the trucks, and for different kinds of apparel, and also to go into the classrooms and carry these tables out and make some kind of like a fair setup. And I spent an entire workday carrying heavy stuff for like almost 100 kuna. And it wasn't even 100 kuna because it was like 85 or 90, and they said, okay, let's round it up and give him 100.
So it's about what, $13, €13
$13 euros. Yeah, at I think it was around 2009 or 2010. And and then I came home with this 100 kuna. It was okay, good money if you're a student. I had a budget, I think, about 200 kuna per week, or something like that from my parents. So 100 kuna for a day, Sunday, I think, or no, Saturday. Saturday was. It was decent, but my hands I felt like they were extended all the way down to the floor from carrying the stuff, and it was old school benches with bubble gums under it, and they were like very, very old, and you couldn't even grab them in an appropriate way without them breaking apart. So it was really a super difficult and job, and I said, okay, I made a website for. I spent the whole day making a website for 1,000 kuna or 800, doesn't matter. Even on a huge discount, it was 500 at least. Like a one pager or something. And I did this for this, and it was. I didn't need to do this twice to understand why I need to sit down and keep the chair hot, as they say.
So again, it's crazy to me, but I was also making websites, and not even one pagers, for what is now $130 would be 130 euros, and like those were not full custom like WordPress, Joomla, as you said, but but it was delivering value to customers, so like they would use those websites for some amount of time later, and it was driving some business for them. So
and when I changed the city, you get onto networking right away. You get, first of all, at college you network by default. You have 200 kids on your school year, and you have a bunch of professors. You stand out, you work hard, people recommend you. So I started building up this network, and of course I started accumulating inquiries from clients that wanted to do a website or redesign an old website. So yeah, there was an influx of work, and even a bit, I say that I'm kind of a for sure a workaholic, because it's hard to measure the right amount, or you just how it is. You get 2-3 clients, you wait for content for days. You can't do anything, and then at some point everybody starts sending you, and it's urgent, and then you either feast or famine. You're either killing yourself and not sleeping enough, or you're blocked on a few projects and waiting for content to be delivered, because you can't really design with the lorem ipsum. It's not a real ideal case. So
how did you then? You finished bachelor's in Varaždin? Or?
Yeah, I finished bachelor's degree, and unfortunately at that time that college that I went to didn't have a master's degree. Today they have, but back then they didn't. So I had quite a bit of pressure, of course, from society, your parents, to go to school, to if you start work, you're never gonna go back, and all those kinds of mantras that people know. So I was doing things that made me happy. I was making money, but on the other side, you had to do this formal education, because now is the time, and then I went to this other university also in Varaždin. It was more technical. It was more databases development, like computer architecture, and it was okay, but it had a lot of stuff that I didn't care about.
So this was master's.
This was a master's, or actually I had to do some, because I was transferring from one university to another. I had to do some kind of, they call it a differentiator,
So
had to do some ECTS points that I had to, that this master's required. So it was an extra year of effort, doing a lot of stuff that I care about that I don't, and more stuff that I don't.
Mm-hmm.
And then I saw, practical, and I saw theoretical, and I said, okay, why do I need to, waste time? I would rather build my skills that I'm sure that I can sell on the real market.
So you dropped out at this difference year.
I didn't have the guts to drop out,
Mm-hmm.
so I waited for the timer to expire, and then it dropped me out.
Yeah.
Basically, that was the cowardly approach that I did. But it was hard for me, from all the pressure from parents and just society to make this decision myself. So I was kind of paralyzed. I worked. I didn't go to certain exams, and basically you had the rule that you couldn't be on this difference year for more than, I think, 2 years or something like that. And timer expired. I got back my documents. I got a job in Zagreb, 6 months trial period, for which I traveled every day from Varaždin to Zagreb, so about a 1 hour car ride to and back, which for US people is, I'm gonna get some bread, 1 hour, but for us here, especially if you're from a small city that you can go by, you can diagonally pass it with a bike in 25 minutes.
It's not common to.
It's quite the life change. I carpooled with some people that worked also in Zagreb, very nice squad. And then when I got the full-time job in this little agency called Mobendo, we decided, my girlfriend and I, to move to Zagreb and to basically build our life here. So brick by brick.
The reason why I love doing this intro origin story thing is because it's crazy to me how small beginnings can lead to where we are right now.
Yeah.
And it's always interesting for me to hear this, and I didn't know this about you, that this difference year expired.
Yeah.
Exactly what happened to me. So I started working during this difference year, and there was a rule that you need to be to a certain amount of classes, present physically.
Okay.
And I had to choose. There was a Sunday when I had to choose whether on Monday I go to college or university or I go to work. And it was a tough night. I chose to go to work in the morning and not to go to a different tram and go to the class. And this got me expelled, basically, or I couldn't get the difference here cleared. But I never stopped working from there. So I guess I'm quite happy where I am right now. So it was I feel it was a good choice. But the other thing, a lot of people now, I'm looking at San Francisco and advice to startup founders. A bunch of them are dropouts, and there is this culture of I almost feel you need to apply to university, go there for 3 months, start a company, then drop out, and that's how you succeed, which I'm not sure I would advise people to do. I learned a bunch during my bachelor's. These 3 years were very formative. I learned a bunch. I met a lot of people. I started to, let's say, learn how to network in a way, so it was extremely useful to me. But then I found myself much like you did, dropping out later, or it automatically happened.
Yeah.
But
yeah, it's true. I think is definitely, people ask me, especially people that have older or kids that are supposed to make these decisions. What do I do? Where do I go? What do I choose? And then people that think I have it figured out, they ask me, and then I say, I think it's hard to give you a recipe, but the only useful thing I can think of is just try as much stuff as you can. Just expose yourself to things, and learning what you don't want is also a very you're not gonna figure out right away what you want, but learning what you don't want or want less of it is also a good decision making strategy.
Yeah.
So I tried studying formal stuff. Of course it was useful. A lot of things like we had this business system architecture where we talked about business processes and tokens and how does a token travel from input to output, and I use some of these concepts today without I realized that it was it, but back then it didn't make so much sense because you didn't have the practicality of it.
Yeah.
And often I was that annoying guy which wanted to work in new technologies. And all the professors were like, if I can't support you if you choose this because I don't have time, I don't care, I don't want to spend time learn this new framework. If you pick this, you're on your own. So in a way you were kind of you wanting to push yourself was kind of you're the odd man out, and you're the one that's always annoyingly wanting something more, which is totally the different way, totally upside down from what you want to do. You're here, you want AI, you want new technologies, you want to push the limits, you want to be a startup, innovate, disrupt. And in college it's more like be fit into the template, and the cookie cutter, and don't break the template, don't break the mold, because it's formal. People are ticking off boxes and you're ready, here's a diploma, good luck in the real world. So it was useful for me to go guerrilla, like a Rambo in the jungle, and to figure it out on my own. Figure out how to handle late payments from clients, figure out how to handle scope creep when somebody says, we'll do 6 pages, and then it turns out to be 12, and they try to manipulate you to do these for the same price because, we agreed on the price, but we didn't agree, but we also agreed on the scope. So all of these things that today I'm also doing in a more structured way, with more money at stake and also salaries for my team. This prepared me because there wasn't a university for this.
So the story continues. You and your girlfriend, new city, new job.
Yes, we were at the outskirts of the city. Cheapest rent, absolutely. It was very affordable back then. We furnished the apartment that we were renting, which is very inefficient for Croatian. Everybody said, "You're crazy, you're renting and then furnishing," because it was just what we wanted to do back then. And IKEA opened up in the neighborhood, so it was very easy to furnish a small apartment. And I worked in this first agency. It was a great experience, small team.
What was your role?
My role was a one-man army designer, and I also did a lot of other stuff because I, did everything that I knew. I was back then. I just wanted to prove that I'm worthy of a job, and that I can bring so much to the table.
Yeah.
And of course, when you do this, people take advantage of you, and you work, three jobs for one salary. But that's fine. I was a contributing member for a team. I had met very nice friends there. We still stay in touch from all my teams. We have, like, in 20 days we have a meetup from that first company.
Interesting.
About 12, 15 of us. People went in and out, some external people, and we went back. Every year we sit down and what's new, and have a few beers and some food. So about 1 year, a bit over 1 year in that agency, and then I got headhunted into another company, and I had it seemed like a great opportunity, but later I wasn't sure about it so much because, of course, when people want to employ you and then they have an idea how to use you, quote unquote, they will sell you the position. It's marketing. We have a nice office, we have this and that benefits. you're going to have all the, you're going to get a budget, you're going to build your own design team, because I wanted to have a design team, because as that was the next step, I think, for me, not having to explain myself to just developers, but also having some wingman or wingwoman or whatever, and not being a one-man army for this. And yeah, there were a lot of promises. Of course, very few of those promises really went into production. And yeah, I spent a year in that little company doing e-learning products. It's called Lamaro Digital, and they still exist. They do e-learning products. And then after all, I moved to a more creative agency, which I thought, okay, now we're going to do some creative stuff. And I spent 8 months in this creative agency, and I was pretty disappointed, because I expected something more. I expected there were a few designers there, but in the end, you had a few designers, but everybody wasn't their own project, and you didn't have a feeling of a team.
Yeah.
We saw each other in the hallways when you go to have some food or go to the toilet, but not really on projects. It was super efficient. You couldn't, two people couldn't work on the same project because it was, less profitable and all that kind of stuff. And also a lot of, which I think, bad management. And I thought, okay, why am I suffering this? Why am I being in this boat, which is not sinking, but very inefficient, and I could do it better, but I don't have the power to do it. And then this motivated me to just go full-time freelance. All the time that I just mentioned, from first agency, second agency, third agency, I did freelancing on the side. Basically, two jobs. Yeah. 2 jobs.
That's also, I feel, pretty common in certain industries, such as ours, like coding and designing. Especially, I want to say, not in States or in Germany, where the standard is higher. Companies would even allow you to do this. You get less salary, like that. They wouldn't cut your salary for this, but realistically, you're not paid as much as for the same job as you would be paid in the States. But then no one complains about you freelancing on the side, so that's how you kind of come by.
Yeah, it's very. It was very. I first of all, I didn't have a clue how law is regulated.
Yeah,
it's pretty irregulated here, but you also have these things that if you do something, if you have a business engagement, full-time employee engagement with the company, and you do something on the side, the company has some ownership of your work, and it's I don't know. I think we have a policy in McKnight Media where people are allowed fully and openly to work on whatever they want to work.
Yeah.
And they can even, I'm also okay if they use company equipment and if they use, licenses to do something. And it's basically, for me, it's a perspective. I want to have an employer. I want to be an employer, according to what I needed when I was an employee.
Yeah.
I needed support to grow. And I think also if you do a project on the side and you do it all night and you go to your main job and you're sleepy and your productivity is a problem, of course it's a problem. But also, all the projects that you do on the side is extra value for your growing outside of the company walls, and you're bringing that growth back to your day job. So it goes both ways. It's not just, so this is what I did basically. People say, how many years of experience do you have?
In 10 years, you got 20 years of experience.
Exactly. 9 women giving birth to 1 child.
Yeah.
This is what I actually did. And because 1 year for me is not the same, as 1 year for a 9-to-5 person who maybe hates what they're doing, but it's good money, so they're doing it. I was always growing on steroids. I was always, it was hard. That's another problem. Hard to say no.
Yeah.
Difficult to say no. So You got into all kinds of projects. I was working domestic, foreign, PayPal, all kinds of combinations. I was doing games. I did a bunch of Windows Phone applications. I don't know anybody who did. For some reason
I know one guy.
Yeah,
You.
yeah, it was crazy. And then I did so many of them in my portfolio, and I had to remove them because I didn't want to be, like a
Associated
specialist
with
for
that.
that.
Yeah.
Because especially when it was news got out that they were shutting it down. So yeah, that was pretty intense, and I just said, okay, it was scary because you have to. It's not a side gig now; it's a main gig.
Yeah. Again, this one.
Okay.
Regardless, so you started freelancing.
Mm-hmm.
But did you start McKnight Media then, or you were first freelancing for some time before you started a company?
No, I was when I decided to leave the third agency, the creative agency. I went full-time freelancing, and I established entity, like a legal entity. It was not a full company, but like a legal entity that was called McKnight Media as well. And I started by basically booking half of my time like a retainer. So it was kind of a step to mediate this risk, and make it less scary. Okay, so I have 100 hours. It was 100 hours for I think 6 months, or it was I think even more. For the first agency I worked for, so Mobendo, so it was they needed help for some projects, and I said, okay, let's do this. So my first legit client was my first employer, which I'm really proud to say that we had this relationship where things really were professional, and it came back, and we all worked together on mutual benefit, and it was really fun. They had also an EU project, a startup, and I jumped in on that as well. And then I was doing a few of these smaller projects, and then my second big customer was my second employer, also the agency, and their sister company, which is a bigger corporation.
Interesting.
And then I even did something for the third agency, but it was a minor thing, like a After Effects project for like 2 weeks or something like that I wanted to finish, and they paid me as an external person. So yeah, and then it started. It went on for about a few years, and then I decided, okay, it's pretty intense. Suddenly I had full-time capabilities, and I booked well over full-time, not because I was greedy. I definitely wasn't greedy. I was choosing projects because I had the liberty to choose projects that I find more fun than maybe the ones that paid the most, which was one of the best feelings ever, that you can choose some kind of startup that doesn't maybe even have, you think it will probably fail, but it's more fun and it will look better in the CV or whatever portfolio. And yeah, then I decided, okay, I need some help. I need to form a team. 2 people are a team, so let's start with that. One extra person, and then basically I transformed the company into a different legal, in like a full legit company, so I can have all this tax stuff and accounting and all of that, and then the first person came very fast, faster than I expected. Through some mutual friends, I got to know Ozana, and she was the first employee of McKnight Media. Basically, I founded the company in September, and I was doing a contract for her in October. And we were sitting in a cafe, and she was reading and signing this, and we started working right away. And I had a problem that I was waiting for some invoices to land, and I didn't have money for her laptop, and she had to start work in 3 days. So I rushed some things so that we would just get this sooner, and she would have equipment to spend her workday on. But it was a good problem to have, and yeah, we've been working together ever since. The team grew. My vision was about two people per year. That was comfortable for me. That I thought, okay, the people would integrate. We would have kind of a community that we could, or some kind of a people policy that we could grow and then integrate people, and also it would not be too stressful for me to manage. And then we went, person per 1 or 2 people plus, and then 1-2 people minus, and then 1-2 people plus, and it was kind of that period, COVID and crazy inflation and all, people getting laid off and all those turbulent times. And yeah, so now we're about 6 people and a few external collaborators, and staying, sailing strong.
Something that's very interesting to me and also very useful to me, you're a specialized agency. Like you don't do just any work. So can you talk about more of your specialization?
Yeah, this was my vision from the start, which was very strange because people don't usually what I find people do is they just do everything. We're an agency. Whatever need you have, we'll fill it out. You need mugs. Okay, you need just this just want to make sure that we have work to pay the salary, so we'll do whatever. And okay, yeah, of course, if you don't have money to pay the light bill and utilities or the salary, yeah, of course you're gonna do a project to fill some gaps. But my vision is, let's try to set it up that way so that we can choose projects and that we can build out this expertise, so that McKnight Media can be a niche agency that does only design, so super focused on just design, and focused on design of a certain type of apps which are professional, which are domain specific. We like to say somebody uses them in their working hours, so as part of a job. Maybe you're trained to use it, maybe you're not. You need to. It's definitely not something that's publicly available. So this was the vision. And why is this the vision, and why is this specific? Probably a bit because my career went in that way. I did a lot of these complex, really complex flows and apps with like query builders and. Everything was, you spent 2 weeks doing a screen. It was really hard to unwrap these complex processes. And I was starting to get really good at it, and people valued this. And I wanted to scale myself, basically, which you do. And then we started kind of, infecting my team with this mentality and teaching them how to be good at these skills. And I can say about 85%, 90% of the projects that we do align with this strategy, with this building of our expertise. And of course, often we have this situation where we have a startup, or we have, or there is a huge system, a huge ecosystem where some apps are professional, some apps are public-facing, customer, consumer, like back office for a ticketing system, and then you have a shop where the people buy the tickets. So of course we don't say we're not going to do this front end, we're just going to do the back office. We do the entire thing, and it's not because it's not the flavor that we like. We do it. We do a marketing page once in a while. We do a branding, but it always has to make sense. It has to lead back to our like master expertise, just like, for example, for SwipeSpec, when is a startup situation, then we like to help as much as we can, sometimes with SEO, sometimes with marketing page, sometimes with flyers. As it's not beneath us. It's not like a lesser category of design that we're super special and we don't want to do. We just want to keep our expertise sharp with the things that we want to do.
Yeah, so it's I think these SaaS tools, dashboards, these type of things are exactly in your territory, and I can say you guys helped tremendously with SwipeSpec. So we had a company, let's say we had money post investment, and I wanted to hire immediately designer because I come from design. I appreciate design. I think for success of SwipeSpec, design is very important. But I wasn't able to hire a designer as quickly as I needed a designer in the company. And I knew you from before. You and I worked together on a project in Remats on this OEM dashboard, where Remats hired you guys basically. And yeah, you like I knew which things we needed to do, but when you guys came in, you know, we started doing interviews, we started doing more serious research, we became more organized in a way, you know. And even though I had a vision of what the product is and who are we serving and a bunch of this, you guys, both Ozana and you, like brought a lot of focus, you know, to me, and I'm very grateful for that, even though it was a business transaction. But you know, it really, and it happened really quickly. I don't know if this is a norm when you work with clients, but I feel that we did so much work and so much progress in such a small amount of time, like just a couple of months.
Yeah, it's sometimes it's like that, sometimes it's harder. It depends on the client, of course. You know, if you're sometimes clients hire us, of course, and they wanna really keep telling us how to do and what to do, and then we wrestle a bit and say, okay, but you hired us, you know, we want to give you our expertise, and this is not the right way. We don't believe in this way. This will not give results because we really care. We want to stand, you know, above the landscape and see, we did a nice work on this grass, on this, you know, tree, or whatever product is launched, and it is succeeding. And of course, this will generate more work for everybody. But if it doesn't, that's also okay. But we really care, and we want to put a nice case study in our portfolio as well, because we want to show results, not just screens. So it's really music to my ears when you say this, because this is we were really on a very the same level basically of understanding a lot of things, and things were pretty smooth and efficient. Because you, like you said, we come from like the same world, same mentality. We often, and this is what I say to my team to kind of motivate them, because sometimes it can get a bit gloomy. This is what I expect. Clients who engage with us need help with what they are paying us to do. You know. I don't expect somebody to have it all figured out and then to need our help, you know, to have a high UX maturity, to know exactly what kind of research, to know exactly what, because, you know, when you know this, you value it, and you build an internal team, which is a lot more affordable in the long run, and it's a no-brainer. And this is why we embrace this, and we often say to our clients, okay, let's kick it off. Let's build the essential foundation of a good UX practice in your company, if you want this, and then let's help you staff your internal team. Let's train people. Let's write the job ads. Let's look for the right skills, and let's in 6 months, year, or whatever time, let's hand it over, and you guys have fun, do some good work, and call us if you need us. I don't go. Some agencies go against this. They try to keep it exclusive. They try to, bring wind into their own sales. We don't. My approach is same with the freelancing and employees being able to freelance. Just embrace it. It's the truth. It's real. Realistic. And let's see how we can all succeed and everybody gets something good out of this deal. And sometimes it's a shorter project, sometimes it's a longer project. Sometimes we do a pause, and then let's hook up a few months later when we get some more budget, or or whatever. It's all fine. It's all a realistic business case. You also had, in your case, had to rush a bit because it's always a rush, right? Nobody ever said, hey, we have a lot of time until the deadline. Everybody's
not the case.
Everybody's we did the version 1, it wasn't good, now we need to survive until the next deadline or whatever, to show something, at least something to the stakeholders. So it's always like that. It's always a tough situation, and then we try to optimize and to see who are we talking to, and then try to do our best work. So this is a nice example that we did, and I'm happy to provide value. And I think a lot of our speed comes from our expertise in these situations, because if you hire an agency which does everything, then your speed kind of averages out,
I didn't have to educate you guys on what my end goal will kind of be. You already knew how this professional type software has to be done in as the baseline, and then we could add added value on top of the baseline, which was good. But do you ever get, let's say, misunderstood that you only do visual stuff? Like, is that something that occurs?
That's the usual starting point for non-designers or whichever expert or role. Design is drawing. Please, can you draw a few screens for us so that we can implement them? Of course, this is and then every engagement starts with us educating the client in a good way. Not like, you're stupid, we want to educate you, but let us teach you how things should be done, and what you should be doing, either with us or on your own or with somebody else. That's fine. And then sometimes people are more receptive, sometimes they're not. Sometimes it's just super short deadline that you don't have time to do anything but produce and execute. But having so much experience with these types of apps then allows us to also discuss strategy and discuss and participate in business, developing the before and the after of just doing design. And this is what we have trouble communicating a bit. We need to update our website, of course, with this information, and we need to figure out how to make it clear for our potential clients to realize, okay, for people not to put us in a basket. Designers, they draw pretty pictures, but actually to put us in a different basket, or maybe just ourselves without a basket. These guys and gals can help us think. We need to call them sooner. We need to call them when we're doing sketches, when we don't have anything visual. Often people praise us for bringing the visual to the early stages. Hey, it's easier to discuss when we have. And you saw we did those little scratches on paper, and it was and very. I mean, from your experience in your previous company, sketches don't get used early enough and often enough because you don't have designers in the process. And it helps a lot to move things faster. We have a project that we're doing now, which is also a few business analysts just crunching the numbers, crunching the text, and nobody. It's too abstract. It's hard for anybody to imagine how these flows will work. And then now we will start participating and bringing some visuals early on. And it doesn't need to be design. It can be a throwaway sketch. But people think, if you design it, it needs to go to the development. No, you can design it and throw it away, and design it again and throw it away, and then third version is going down the line, down the production line. So we try to provide a lot more value than people expect from us.
It's interesting. In Rimac, the company paid a lot of money for a week of consulting to Aka Engineering. It's a huge company. They do system engineering, consulting, stuff like that. And two guys came to give this education, and it was the first step was like they shown a circle of steps how you, let's say, would engineer a complex product, and then it was like crossed. Everyone is doing this, but that's wrong. And then there was a step 0, which was UX. And like everyone is missing this step 0. Like you need to introduce user experience and design super early on for any kind of work, especially for complex work, be it hardware in cars, in the case of remats, or in this type of professional software dashboards. Like you just need this step. Like you need to involve people who are thinking about this stuff from early on.
Yep. Yeah, we have clients that approach us and say, hey, we've been building this software for 5 years, investing a bunch of development hours and whatever hours. We never done design. We never cared too much about design, invested in it, and we want to do it now. And then what do we do? And okay, let's try to make it of course affordable, because we don't have all the time, don't have a lot of budget. And then it's a challenge because it's whatever you touch, it's like pulling out a cable, and then everything follows this cable, because there's 3 extension cords below the carpet, and then you pull out the entire so it's just like house renovation. I try to compare it to something that makes sense to people. House renovation, you need to change something, but it also indicates that you need to change these extra things that you maybe don't want to change, but you cannot change the cables in the walls, the electrical wiring, without having to paint the walls again after you rip them out or something. So some things, if you did it in the first place, it would have been easier, but you didn't, and of course that's fine. And now you need to basically, it's like technical debt, or it's you can call it UX debt, for example. It accumulates, and then you have this situation where our product is hard to use, we're losing market. Why is this happening? It's hard to use, and then we unravel this huge mess of cables, like Christmas lights, that you kept, and nobody can figure out how to unravel them, and then we start. And but yeah, I think we can move a lot faster. We also have technical background, a lot of our designers, and we try to nurture this culture where don't run away from code, don't run away from architecture, databases, logic, so that people understand what the brain will do behind the design, and then that we can kind of adapt this design so that it's easier and cheaper to develop, and not just make something extravagant but very impractical to develop. So we make sure that we do practical design, good sweet spot between complexity, front-end complexity, and how things are solved. And we also for sure can move a lot faster, because we've seen already a lot of those patterns that we're doing. We've seen it in other apps. We've designed them, things like permission system, role system, anything that's map related, like points of interest on a map, routes, dashboards, query builders, complex query builders with conditionals, and then functions that modify certain elements. So we've seen a lot of these things already, and we already have best practices figured out, and we can move faster, and this accumulates in time.
Yeah, as I am deep in this startup research now, go to market, how to differentiate, blah blah blah. And there is a trend that I noticed. They call it oversaturation of SaaS products out there, like everything was already invented,
Mm-hmm.
But lately it seems that some of the more successful companies, like success stories, are where they emphasize design as a differentiator. So you would get a giant, like well established competitor on the market who is exactly that, entangled cables, as you said, and they're hard to move. They're not agile in that sense. And then you get a small SaaS company that prioritizes design, UX, not just aesthetics. So obviously, that's what I'm talking about. And then because it's just that much more practical, nice to eyes, easy to pick up, it gets and it becomes a success story.
Yeah.
So this is advice to everyone, in my opinion. Like, focus on this. Don't dismiss design. Which unfortunately a lot of times gets dismissed.
Yeah, I've seen this a lot of times in big corporations, big SaaS products. I've seen how the right word is how scared or concerned they are to lose market share over some garage startup that's just doing exactly what you said. But I wouldn't say, just like to elaborate a bit, it's not about they're prettier. They're prettier than the competitor, and they're absolutely, everybody will rush towards them. We're talking here more about, of course, aesthetics helps, and things being buttery smooth and transitions, animations. It's all the nice things that we like about certain brands. But what is, I think, crucial is that first of all, connecting with your customer. This is very, very done very poorly, or not done at all, which is very, very amazing how product teams can build products without or MVPs without basically consulting too much with people who are going to pay it, or they expect people are going to pay it. A lot of things are being added, a lot of features are being added, a lot of assumptions made. UIs are getting cramped, with all kinds of buttons, features. Just add a feature. And usually, when we get a chance to communicate with the user or do some research, a lot of things are not needed. Nobody asked for this. Why are you giving me these, buttons and extra stuff, and just making it harder for me to use the things that I actually do need, because I can't find them from all the clutter. So what you want to avoid is just being fully assumption driven. So this is what you want to do. Do your best, do whatever you can. You don't have the budget, you don't have the time, you don't have the people. That's the baseline. That's not your tough situation, that's the baseline. So what you do is you talk to one person per week. Just do anything that's not zero, and then you try to bring these to whoever you need to bring them to. You try to get allies who believe in the same thing, in the same way of doing things, and then you try to keep this communication going and this feedback loop with the customer, and exposing your roadmap maybe publicly, and having people vote on it or whatever. Any kind of there are a million ways you can get this feedback and try to reduce the risk of assuming incorrectly, because we as designers we are also assuming. We might be a bit better, but it's still an assumption. And we still, I myself, I'm going to tell you, hey, you should do this, but this is my assumption. Let's talk with Joe, Anna, Peter. Let's see how they resonate with this.
Yeah, I can confirm what you said. So when I approached you, I had a lot of assumptions. We are Specwriting, requirements management tool. We need the review process, we need versioning, we need a bunch of these hardcore features that, yes, you need. They are useful, but for highly regulated industry companies, markets in aerospace, in automotive, in medical. But I wanted to make a tool for all spec writers, business analysts, and I was when you came, we started doing these customer interviews, and I was looking for cues and clues about these hardcore features, versioning, and then the problem was that those parts were not relating to them. Only a part of my story was relatable to, let's say, everyone, which is automating these sentence structuring with AI, and then pushing things with one click to your other tools like Trello, Jira, so those interviews that we did together with our potential customers and customers were very useful to me, to focus me and to cut out all the excess things, not to focus on some of the features that were basically not in my target, even though I was assuming they were. So this was very eye-opening.
But you remember me. It was scary. It was scary to have a few interviews in a row and to not hear what you want to hear.
Yeah, it was a depression for me. Like
it was a roller coaster ride. And this is, of course, nobody wants to hear what you don't want to hear.
Yeah.
But it's something you have to hear because, what are the options? You're gonna dream the dream, and just a fairy tale land until the budget runs out, and then change a job or whatever, And why did it die? I don't know. And then repeat the same thing. Just multiple cycles of failure in a different company for different people,
Yeah.
And this is done this is very, very done very, very often. But what I really believe in is let's hear the tough stuff, and then let's try to optimize and pivot and not feel bad. At one point I arrived here in your office, and I said, how's it going, or something like that. You said, oh, yeah, it's, I don't know, terrible. We pivoted 3 times in the last day and a half or something like that. And it can be, you get a bit panicky and you want to change directions. But I think, you guys are doing more than some products with a lot more money, a lot more people, and a lot more mileage on the market, and that are struggling, and that they think that the only way they can elevate themselves as leaders or whatever is to acquire the competition, and this is the only thing that they have is money. But money runs out, and if you don't have a solid, if you don't plug the holes where it's leaking, eventually you're always going to be in the minus, and falling down. But if you have a healthy way of thinking of things, and this UX-driven way, it doesn't even have to be we drew a screen, we didn't touch a screen. We just talked about the need. So the human-centric, because every product should be solving a problem for its users, and the problem which is realistic, not just some thought-up problem in the product in a shower, or in the product team meeting or whatever. So I think. It's the right way to do things, and I think you guys are, in your 3 months, you're doing things that a lot of companies can learn from.
Yeah, you told me something also interesting, that you as an agency are a client of mine in a way, can be, which was not the market that I was maybe aiming for in the beginning. But you told me that a lot of times, you had to spend a lot of time defining the scope up front with your customers, so that you don't end up over budget, breaking deadlines or whatever, to a point that you basically also made that into sort of a small service product that you are selling to your customers. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
And this is that case where the market forms your offering, basically. I never had this vision. Let's provide discovery services, as we call them, because in UX it's usually called, when you're starting and you have no idea about anything, you do discovery. And what is discovery? It's this umbrella where you have a bunch of stuff, whatever you can do, whatever makes sense. Is it a conversation? Is it desk research? Is it? And of course, when clients contact us or somebody recommends us as a service provider, we need to start somewhere, and clients they ask us, how much would it cost to do XYZ, and then in order for us to estimate time and money, we need to know what we're doing, and it's usually very poorly defined, or we need to reverse engineer the spec out of a live demo software somewhere on a staging server, or we need to go through some heavily outdated documentation, and then we risk, of course, we risk that we are going to be disappointed. The client is going to be disappointed because at some point we're going to do a bad estimate and it's going to cost more, or we're going to work for free because we did a bad estimate and we did damage to our to my business. So what needs to be done is to provide a document which will be, bring both sides on the same page, which is a specification or a requirement or scope or however you call it.
Yeah.
I don't really, as long as it solves my problem, I don't care how it's called.
Yeah.
Also in UX, is it called Discover? Is it called a Bootstrap workshop? Whatever. As long as I get the result. The result is black and white confirmation, signed on both sides. This is what is required for the software to be able to do. If it's something extra, okay, we'll figure it out on the way, do like an extra budget or something, and that's it. And this is what we started to offer as a separate service. So we say let's take 2-3 weeks. Let's sit down, let's talk with your existing customers, let's talk with you, with your product people, or whoever is in the story, and let's figure out scope. And then we usually discover some extra things that need to be done that nobody thought about. We suggest some extra things that need to be done. Some are accepted, some are not, which is totally fine. Thing like responsive design, which nobody thinks of. People just expect it to automatically be responsive every screen. And then we spend some time, we spend some budget, and then we provide this document. Clients, we did it a few times now. Clients are happy, and they pay us for our work. They see value in this work. Also, we use rudimentary. We use Google Docs or whatever. Like I said again, it doesn't matter. Just so I get to the goal. It doesn't really matter how fancy the process is. Mm-hmm. If I can save time for myself, that's great. But I need to do this prerequisite for the design work to happen. And then we deliver this. We invoice it, and then the client has a choice. Will they continue to work with us and realize the project, or will they give themselves a break and think about it a bit more? Will they do it with some other freelancer or somebody? And 100% of the time we continue. We didn't have a situation from the 4 or 5 cases where somebody said, "Oh, okay, thanks.
We'll stop here.
We'll stop here, or we'll call you. Don't call us." And then we continue and we do the full project, and also things turn out very on point, on budget, on time. Yeah. No catastrophe so far.
I talked to multiple business owners, smaller company, bigger company, not huge, but up to 10 people, that told me like, yeah, we don't have proper spec, we don't write spec, but when we talk to our clients, if it's service-based, for example, we would spend a couple of days, a week or whatever in writing this offer document, which outlines everything. And then I that's exactly it, So that's the spec for a smaller company. In a lot of cases, that's where they invest time. And then when the execution comes, they would build on top of it, a little bit sort of like a working process. When they're working, okay, for next sprint, we need to define more things. So yeah, all of this you guys can do in SwipeSpec. So
yeah, that's why I'm excited to try and work this way, because of course I see potential for this. We can speed things up. We can add visuals to it. We can have a document that helps us move things along. and we can include the client in this process, and the client can also use SwipeSpec and all the good things, powerful things that come with it to write together with us and to continue using it on their own, to continue developing this document into version 2, phase 2, or whatever. And you definitely need, this is on waterfall projects, when you need to estimate a finite amount of, but if we're doing agile, then of course we do it sprint by sprint. But you also have a planning phase. You also sometimes we call it backlog grooming, sometimes we call it brainstorming, sometimes we call it discovery. There's also a need for things to be defined, even if it's pretty excited to give it a shot and to see what other features we might be missing. I talked to you about this reverse engineering of a live app into, which is a weird thing, but it's often you need to click through the entire app. It's a job, it's a job. You need to click every button, open every drop down, open every date picker, just so that you're sure that behind the button that there are not like 3 days of work hidden, because this button triggers a wizard, 5 steps, So you need to really meticulously go through the app, because when I'm writing a quote or something, doing an estimate, it's for that app on that domain. And if I missed a few screens or something, it comes back to me, and I need to do it because I committed to do the entire app on that domain. So I need to write a spec document so that I'm sure that things won't change, and that I'm sure that I got everything that I need, because somebody on the client side should say, hey, you're missing this wizard in this document. We have it here. You need to click here to get it, or you need to be a certain role and have a certain permission to see this flow, and we need it designed.
Yeah, I got asked by a client this question, like, why would I use SwipeSpec when the backlog needs to live in Jira, and that's where we will do the backlog grooming and sprint planning. And I immediately punch back the ping pong ball, and I ask, like, do you like writing in Jira? And the answer is no. It's a very powerful tool, but we product people who need to write a lot of these, it's not the best UI or UX for writing. So what we did in SwipeSpec is basically enable you to be creative in a very clear, very high quality writing environment, and then you can click and it goes to Jira seamlessly, so that the rest of the company can do grooming you together with them on things that you wrote in SwipeSpec, in Jira, or wherever it needs to be.
Yeah, and from my experience, in Jira backlogs or whatever, DevOps backlogs, or wherever you're doing ClickUp, all the backlog is usually like 10% from the top has any value or meaning. Everything else is just a placeholder.
Yeah,
placeholder for like a to-do list, and they're
title copied into description.
Exactly, and you just need the top X to survive the next sprint planning. And you're just rushing all the time,
but those are little cues and clues that there's something bad there. Why are out of 100 items in backlog, only 10 are properly written? And it goes exactly like you said, like the you start from the top, which were written first, those are good, and then as the time progresses, the quality deteriorates, because no one loves doing it, I guess.
Yeah, and even if you're like a nerd and you want to define something that's going to be done in 8 months, question is, how can you be certain things won't change so much that your definition, your spec for this task will be deprecated, and we changed 60 things we need to, So the question is, do you even need to write so far in the future? We had once on a project, a product person said, why do we need to do a roadmap? Because it's outdated very soon. It's going to change. Why do we need to even have it? you know, because it's just a job keeping it up to date. And I said, okay, that's why you need to have a team, the team, on the same page. And the constant change is something that's normal. It's not an error. It's just you have to embrace it, because it's agile software development. We figure out some things along the way. We get user feedback. We realize, hey, people don't need this at all, or they need 50%. Let's change the screen. We also need to future-proof things so that okay, this works when you have 5 items, but when you have 6 or 10? Does it need to go back, rewrite the whole screen, or can we plan ahead and have things future-proof where it makes sense that things will grow fast? So yeah, it's I think it has some value to spend more time in SwipeSpec, and then when you're ready, because you just need the top 10, top 10%. When you're ready, you ship it to wherever you need it to be shipped, and you have enough well written out material for the next sprint planning.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Before we continue with a couple more AI related questions, let's take a short break, and then we'll be back.
Okay, great.
We are back. We had a small technical difficulty. We also needed a short break. So, where were you when ChatGPT came out? That's a common question that I ask. Do you remember? Is it a part of your world?
I remember it was of course a lot of media coverage and a lot of the world is changing. Same as like with crypto, and I think it was also NFTs. It was the next big thing, obviously, and yeah, I remember that I was using it for quality demo data in my designs, or in our designs, which is usually a challenge, because you wanna, when you're delivering design, you're delivering screens and flows, you want the data to be as realistic as it can, so that it reflects the real case, real scenario, and not something that's like lorem ipsum, or the same table row repeated 12 or 15 times. So this is usually a lot of manual work. You need to find a bunch. You have some plugins. You need to find a bunch of dummy addresses that you can paste around, and then when you reset the components, you lose the data. It resets, and then you need to fill it out again. So very, very annoying work. And AI is, for me, it's perfect for this. I can explain.
So you found this sounds very practical use case.
Yeah.
Very early on, like.
Very early on. This was like the most. And this is not even sophisticated. You just say, hey, give me 20 addresses, table of 20 people with this info, or give me an example of 6 articles that are in the financial industry for like a news widget on a financial app or something like that. And it was perfect for this case. It was perfect. It was perfect for brainstorming. Just throwing out ideas and seeing how the AI reacts, and then sometimes, in some cases, it would highlight an edge case that you didn't think about, because of course it has a bunch of information, and it's good at highlighting some cases.
What's interesting to me, that like when it came out, but it's still to this day, when they are demoing some of these, like, every YouTuber made a video about ChatGPT, and then it can write a poem about your YouTube channel. Like, yeah, cool, it can write a poem about my YouTube channel. Who gives a fuck? But professionals undercover, basically, not exposed to public, started finding these types of use cases that you just said, which is very rudimental, but still very valuable and practical. So it same happened to me. Like the first thing was write a poem about my mother, and the second prompt I wrote was rewrite these 5 bullet points into year's standard requirement format, which it did, and I immediately got the tingle, oh man, this is there is something there, something of value.
Specwriting.
You try for your domain, no? You need the dummy data for your designs, not to look lorem ipsum and copy pasty. So I needed to make my spec writing faster, and that's what I tried very early on, and I found success there. So this is very interesting. The more I talk with people, professionals like you, I hear that they started applying AI professionally, that they found these small use cases, which are not the ones that are advertised, like writing poems or papers for school. So
because you wanna do the advertisement for general masses. People won't care about my dummy text. Everyday people won't care about your spec for a car door that can open on both sides or whatever. So this is you have a problem, just like apps. You have a problem, you need to get to a solution, and then you see what makes sense. For example, I use it for research. Also, of course, this is the most I think a realistic scenario. You ask about competitors in a certain industry, you ask about best practices. So like I said to my team and to my wife, and for me it's just a super powerful way to Google, basically. So instead of searching I have a conversation with AI.
Are you fact checking?
Of course I'm fact checking, and I have this tendency to also every time write, hey AI, tell me, figure this and this out, and then triple check it, and then I don't know if it works or not. I check the things that are risky, if they're not correct, of course. But I have this. I was looking at cars, for some personal reason, and I was doing, instead of Googling and specs, taking a look at specs for two cars. I said, hey, ChatGPT, give me a comparison of these two models, these two cars, and make it a table format, and add a third column and explain who is the winner of the certain category, and focus on audio quality in the cabin, because this is something I care about. Focus on like the ergonomics of long-term usage, long driving for a long time, basically, and some of these things that I personally care about. And then this is what I got. I got a perfect table with a bunch, like 15 columns for things that are valuable to me, and I also explained. Because you had things like wheelbase or whatever, and then I'm not a car guy, so I don't. Is it better? Is more better, or And then of course this third column was perfect because it explained, hey, this is better. I used the same approach for headphones. I was looking in the market for some audiophile quality headphones. I was comparing them this way. Also giving input like I prefer pop, rock, metal, whatever music, and then which headphones are better for which, So this is just a quicker, more efficient way of Googling, because I would get this information. It just would take me 5 times longer by watching 5 YouTube videos, by just Googling, getting a bunch of articles. And this is just a more efficient way of getting to a decision making.
How about applications of AI in design process, like prompt to design? I know a bunch of companies are now spinning out which are prompt to code, where you can just prompt them and it will give you a full applications. One of our investors even challenged me basically on like, why do we need a spec writing tool in a world where you can just ask AI to build the whole app? Where my response was basically, that you need proper specs. The better you describe what you need, the better the AI, even auto-generated application will be in the end.
Yeah.
And I also recognize this as a, let's say, gap on the market where a lot of money went into tools like prompt to design and prompt to app or to code, where not that much money went into AI-driven spec, which I think they need to be on the same level to have benefits, So have you tried this prompt to design? Does it work? How mature is it, and what are your thoughts?
I think explaining what a person wants is underrated. Because we have this in the creative industry, we have this thing called a brief. So if you're doing a branding or a website, there is this document, the holy grail of any creative project is a brief, and a brief is supposed to contain it's basically a spec for a creative project. And if you meet any designer on the street and ask them, hey, what's the time? When was the time you remember you got a decent brief? Oh man, it was X years ago.
If ever,
exactly, if ever. And this is why I try to give my designers and designers that we collaborate with a good brief, because I know it's a pain point, and I want to be a better client. Clients, of course, don't know this, and they don't have time, and they even if they do have time, they forming an opinion and it takes effort. How do I explain to you what I need? I have all the money in the world, I can pay you, and I can pay you good, but you need my input, because you're not doing things for me, you're doing things for you, you're doing things for me. So it's very underrated, the effort to explain things in a quality way, so that the output can also be good. And this is what people don't have, and this is prompt engineering. It's a fancy way of saying, hey, explain it to me, so I can make a good output. And this you see when people you have people that have no idea how to Google for things. What do I write? What's the proper keyword? How do I explain it in English? Sometimes it's a translation issue. Sometimes they just don't have any idea how to properly search. And this is the same problem. If you have no idea about development, and you have no idea about design or UX or how things should be done, you're probably going to explain it in a very shallow way, or you're gonna not give enough information, and then the app or the design is going to be very superficial, very trivial. It needs a lot of refinement. You will probably get a lot of templated junk that you're gonna have to remove, So in the end, I can't say that I'm riding the wave of innovation and trying every tool that pops out, but we had this before AI. You had a lot of generation, generate me this, generate me that in design, but it was always very rudimental, very marketing one pager with 5 sections and 2 CTAs. It was very, very basic. Anything more complex, anything, give me a list and details screen with slide in modal that's full height or whatever. Anything more complex is just I haven't seen a good demo for this, because you still need a human person to take care of these nuances. A live person with AI and refining it through AI is a whole different story, but then you need to know what you're doing. But just like a person that has no clue about it and then using AI to build it, you really need to have the ability to explain yourself, the ability to refine the nuances. And I still think in the future that you're probably going to have designer, but it's not going to be like AI designer. It's going to be designer. It's still designer, only you have a nicer shovel. you have a nicer tool. It allows you to more easily lift a bunch of dirt, basically.
Yeah.
But it's still going to be the same job. I'm not going to be struggling with Figma tools, auto layout or responsive or tokens or whatever. I'm going to be explaining it in a more vocal or textual way, and still refining and giving the AI context and refining. But it's going to help me. It's going to be my co-pilot. It's going to say, hey, you didn't cover the case where somebody searches and there are no results. You didn't cover a case where somebody has lost internet connection and they're looking at a wizard and they're on step 5 out of 6 and they lost internet connection. How do you handle this? It's going to help me do these, be my safety net so that I don't forget, so that I maybe if I'm deviating from some best practices, it's going to. So this is kind of, it's not, my vision is not so, doomsday. Like usually people say, everything's going to be obsolete.
Yeah.
At least maybe I'm a positive guy, so this.
Yeah, it feels like that was the first push was this.
Yeah.
All the jobs will be gone. You will just think of what you want and need, and it will be given to you.
Yeah.
But in the end, now reality is hitting, where yes, for us professionals, it makes us feel like we have superpowers, like you're faster, you are more concrete, you cover more, you all do all of these, but I don't feel that would be completely replaced.
Yeah, the novelty will wear off like for every other thing, and it's just going to be at the end of the day. I mean, imagine if you remember when things like Bootstrap, the Bootstrap UI kit came out, everybody started using it. We don't need designers ever, just use Bootstrap, everything is here, or material design, everything is specified, or any other design system which is pretty mature like IBM Carbon or something. We don't need designers, this is perfect, everything is documented, all the views, everything, and you still need designers.
Yeah,
I mean, every third project that we have is something being designed in a totally abominated material design, which is hacked and stick together, but we're using material. It's cheaper.
Yeah.
It's cheaper, and now fix it. Can we change it? Just the key screens. It's terrible. You need to burn everything and start from zero, because everything. If you touch everything, it's just going to be worse, because it's so hard coded. Every third screen looks like a new app. So. Because it's neglected, and it started with the vision of it being cheaper. So yeah, I think there will be space. Of course, if you shouldn't ignore it. You should embrace it, but it's still in the UX community. There is a lot of talk about, can AI replace user research? Can you tell AI behave? For example, we're not doing interviews with product managers anymore. We just explain the persona to the AI, and then we just ping pong with it. What would you do if I did this, and that? And this, of course, will work, and it will look amazing. But the thing is that humans are so chaotic and so unpredictable that you will sit down with 5 product managers from the same company, and you will see significant deviation from the company standard.
Yeah.
Even in the same company, and not talking about. I mean, we did like 10 or some interviews, and you couldn't merge 2 people together in the same persona. They were so different. Same job, same size company, but they were so different, so chaotic. Somebody starts in Figma first. Product manager starts their work in Figma, totally unpredictable. And somebody works with a designer, so this is perfect imperfection. This is what you cannot. I mean, maybe it's better than assumption, of course. You give it a shot, you stress test your idea, but it's not something that I would say, okay, we're not doing any more user interview with real people. Let's just count on AI.
I feel for this research use cases, at least. Models that are available, like ChatGPT, those that you pay for, they are very affirmative of what you write in the prompt, even if you tell it to be critical. Like if I say, would you like to have, as a small business owner, a startup founder with 2 people, a requirements management tool with a full-fledged review review feature, and then the AI would say, yeah, of course, that's what I would love.
Yeah.
And then if I in the next question I say, yeah, wouldn't you hate to have review feature because it's over bloating your requirements management tool? You're not even mature to the level where you need it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I would hate having review feature in my requirements management tool as a small business owner. So there is still let's say it's bias,
and you can edit the bias.
Yeah,
basically,
but you yourself can do it.
Exactly.
From message to message, you can alter, like dramatically alter the direction of the answer.
Yeah, it's like you can create your perfect bipolar user who can steer you in many wrong directions.
Yeah,
if you're taking this into serious account.
There was SwipeSpec was a part of this hackathon, and we ended up winning it. But one of I think the second place or the third place were this AI research startup, and how they tried to solve this problem is by generating thousands of AIs and asking same question and then averaging.
Okay.
So if you have one and then you ask left, are you sure? Why not right? And then it changes from left to right. But if you ask only one question but to 100,000 AIs, but still, like the results that they were getting were leaning towards real results. So they did the experiment and which was also done in real life. So they compared the results and like there was a lean of accuracy, but it wasn't perfect match,
Mm-hmm.
So at this stage, I'm not sure it would be,
Yeah, you're trying to average out the bias, and you're. I've heard. I didn't witness this, but I've heard a lot of and read some articles about, AI being also racially biased, and because it's learning from. It's learning from an imperfect world, and so these are realistic things that it's behaving, according to what it's learned from society, and maybe we don't think society should be this way, that it is. So yeah, definitely. This is what you do in the real world. You also want to interview a certain amount of people with a certain amount of variety, because you don't want to bias yourself in a certain corporate direction. You also want to talk with smaller companies. You don't want to talk only to local men or whatever. You also want gender diversity. You want a background. You want different backgrounds. You want people who are maybe formally trained in business organization or MBA, and you want also people who are more self motivated and self-educated, and maybe freelancers. So you wanna, of course, asking the wrong questions and asking the wrong people the wrong questions can be counterproductive to your can actually lead you in the wrong way. So that's why you need to balance yourself, and there's this saying in UX that you do interviews as long as they're interesting. When they start to get boring, you stop doing them.
Yeah.
So when you don't hear anything new, it stops being, starts to get, yawning. Mm-hmm. You say, okay, we're not hearing anything new. We can stop now. So this is kind of a,
Sounds like a perfect place to stop this episode.
Yeah.
Kinda. Thank you, Gordon, for being here. This was the second episode of the Stragedy podcast. If you want to say some closing words yourself, it's optional, don't worry.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Some legacy to leave behind. I think UX, like many other industries, is being, of course, you can read a lot of books, you can read a lot of content every day. We're bombarded with all kinds of this is how things should be done by the book. And especially I see this in juniors, junior designers. They're very overwhelmed, and then when they start doing a real project, they have anxiety because things are not unique enough. Design has already been seen. We're rushing. It's not by the book. The only thing that matters is getting results and getting to the goal. Sometimes you will use half of your tools from the toolbox. Sometimes you'll use half plus one. Sometimes you will throw the toolbox away and go guerrilla. The most important thing is to get results and to get them in a human-centered way. Yeah. So whatever that means for you, 2 conversations, 10 conversations, desk research, just keep it connected with the person who's going to be sitting and using it to solve their problem. So that's, I think, the most important North Star to look at.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Subscribe to SwipeSpec YouTube channel. Go to our website and get yourself on the waiting list. There is a waiting list form there, and I'll make sure that you get access to SwipeSpec as soon as possible. And talk to you in the next one.
Thanks a lot.